Oh my gosh, guys, welcome, welcome. You'll never guess. Nintendo found out I'm such an important YouTuber with like tens of views, so I got extra special access to the new colors of JoyCons early. So take a look, I'm so excited. Doesn't it look so different? All right, I'm obviously kidding, but let's talk about the new JoyCons and what a mess it is. So, Nintendo recently put out their new colors of Joy-Cons for the Switch 2, and they only colored the rings around the sticks and the inside colors. So, let me show you real quick. So, obviously, the only place you can see the colors of the Joy-Cons currently, if you look at your Switch 2, is on the sticks. And I already have stick covers on mine, so you can't tell at all if I got the new Joy-Cons. But on the inside, you also have the color that matches the inside of your Switch. And then these match, and those match up with the colors of the first Switch 1. And then after we got the initial colors, so when the Switch 1 came out, we had the blue and red, and then the gray package, and then they eventually came out with all these new Joy-Cons in various colors that usually kind of went with game releases. Like I know when Princess Peach came out, they finally came out with Joy-Cons that were the same color on both sides, and they were both pink. Still kind of wanted those, but it was late in the system update, so I didn't get them. But with the new Joy-Cons, or with the new Switch 2 in general, in my opinion, they're just going for like this adult corporate look, which just baffles me. Like, I work on a sales team for my daytime job, so I don't know if you guys have ever been in like a work meeting where like everyone just is on board, yes, yes, but you can tell kind of with like the vibe of the meeting that they're not going to be open to criticism. Wonder if that's what Nintendo product development on the Switch 2 environment is like, because I just feel like they need more honest input from normal people. Because if I'm a mom, and I would bet that a lot of purchasers of Switch things are people similar to myself, probably predominantly moms or gamers that are my age, that are adults, whatever. So elder millennials. So to me, if you're buying the Switch Joy-Cons, they're like $100. $100 is kind of on the edge for an upper middle class person of what an impulse purchase would be when you look at like the research of sales. And so to me, you're kind of competing with other accessories in the market to make your Switch look like your own and colorful. So some ways that I've tried to express that in my Switch 2 were like getting a more colorful grip. The yellow wasn't my favorite color, but that's Beat 'em Up's color. And then I got the Joy-Cons that kind of went along with that were kind of the Nintendo stars. And that's kind of how I'm trying to show personality on my Switch 2. But these little grip covers are like $5 or $10 on Amazon. They're real cheap. So if you can personalize it that way, and the Joy-Cons that are $100 are providing the same amount of impact for decorating as this $5 purchase. Does that make sense? So I just feel like Nintendo is not thinking about that as far as like a casual consumer, or like they don't even understand what made them successful with the Switch 1. I'm really starting to question like the color Joy-Cons. They didn't sell so many because of like the Joy-Con drift or whatever that nonsense was all about. I never experienced that with mine. Maybe I didn't put in enough hours. But I think it was really more about like, oh, I need that new color. It looks really cool. And I understand that they might want to differentiate the Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 from the Switch 1, so there's no confusion when you're buying, or just so that this system has like its own personality. But I would just say like the Switch 2 personality is kind of, I was alluding to earlier, is just kind of like boring corporate guy, CEO or middle management. It's just a black tablet. And I don't know if anyone else watches How I Met Your Mother, but there was an episode a while back where they were talking about, if someone points out something about someone you first started dating, it can kind of like ruin the illusion that you thought this was this great person. And I guess I never really realized with the Switch 1, despite using it almost every day the last few years, that it's just like a tablet with these things on the side. And with the Switch 2, that really started to click more with me because it just looks like a boring tablet. I'm detaching them more. It's just kind of void of personality. So I don't know. Nintendo, what are we doing? Like, what is happening? And then the other thing that really bothers me about the new Joy-Cons is like, I come from teaching school. That was more my background. So I definitely care about like kid interest and making things accessible to kids. Well, Nintendo is like a kid gaming company or family, and not exclusively kids. I know it like it's kind of like Lego. It appeals to all ages. But one of the things about the Joy-Cons that I really thought made it approachable for kids was that the colors match with the side of the Switch 2. And that was one of the few things about the Switch 2 that I thought made this more kid friendly. So you could easily tell which one needs to go on which side. And then if you also look at like the dog bone, whatever this thing is called, the colors are also there. So you can match them. Well, then when you get your new Joy-Cons, those colors no longer match. So it's like less user-friendly by getting the new Joy-Cons, and it still is not off. So again, when you put your Joy-Cons in here, you can't see the colors again. So just why do we even have this? And also, I just think that if they wanted to make it stand out, look different, they could have gone with so many other options. They could have explored with like using wood or metal finishes if they wanted a more grown-up look, or if they're, and I know the Switch 2 is a more powerful machine, and it does seem like they're going with more like grown-up games with the Switch 2 and trying to appeal to that hardcore gamer. But I just feel like Nintendo, we should have learned this lesson in the GameCube generation, which had terrible sales, that like Nintendo is not really the serious gamer company. They're more the casual gamer company or the kid gamer company. And I just feel like now they're kind of trying to redefine themselves, which is fine to some extent, but like, why are we abandoning what worked for us for so many years? Perhaps I'm overreacting. I just know that the Joy-Con ones always followed the same formula. So it just really makes me think that all the future Joy-Cons we get for the Switch 2 are gonna follow this same formula. And they're just gonna color the insides and these little pieces that you use like in mouse mode and stuff that get lost frequently at my house, but I do have the ADHD. So, but we could have made like the buttons colors. We could have made these buttons colors on the top. Like I said, we could have played with metals. I know they changed just this base color on the first Switch 2, but I really think that it would have been a good idea to leave these colors matching so it matched up and change something else. If they don't want to change the predominant color, I mean, that seems like the easiest solution. But if they want to be difficult or make it different from the Switch 1, whatever, but then like color the buttons or maybe make them patterns. They were all solid colors on the Switch 1. We could go with patterns. I don't know. Guys, just as a new Switch 2 owner, they're not making it easy to stick up for them. All right, hit subscribe, hit like, give me a comment, tell me what you think, and thanks for watching.